This video contains spoilers for Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. In a show where morality is flexible, what happens to someone who is genuinely good in a very undecent world? Oh, okay then. Hey everyone, welcome to Critic in Motion. In today's video, I'm going to talk about Better Call Saul and how being moral doesn't always mean a good outcome is on the cards for all of its characters. In order to show this, I'm going to be looking at one character in particular, that being Howard Hamlin.
You're goddamn right.
To do this, we first need to understand Howard's journey on the show and how it all led to this. Stick around to hear more about the unfortunate end of one of the best characters in the Breaking Bad universe. Howard Hamlin is a character that has seen some low lows and some high highs, but always worked to better himself after the fact.
Thanks. I've already seen someone.
Really?
Twice a week.
That's not to say he's the peak of morality due to his treatment of Kim in seasons 2 and 3.
I'll put Francis on that. You've got enough on your plate in doc review.
But the point of difference is his ability to change and improve himself. When we're first introduced to Howard, he's pretty much exactly what you'd expect a rich lawyer to be. He's a bit slimy with a pinch of charisma, but in a way that doesn't feel genuine. But as the series progresses, we learn he's essentially just a pawn in the battle between Chuck and Jimmy.
I know he swapped those numbers. I knew it was 1216. One after Magna Carta, as if I could ever make such a mistake. Never. Never.
And that he is actually a genuine person. This recontextualises Howard in the show, as the only reason he appears this way in season 1 is because of Chuck. But seasons 2 and 3 also show that Howard is far from perfect, whether Chuck is an influence on him or not. Because of Chuck's unfortunate accident, Howard is forced to start rethinking his life and his decisions that led to this point. There is a large credit owed to Howard though. He puts in the work from season 4 onwards and starts going to therapy, and even tries to repair the rift between him and Jimmy. Sadly for Howard, this only infuriates Jimmy more, as him taking the higher road means that Jimmy must be on the lower one, something that he just can't handle. This combined with Howard's mistreatment of Kim leads to the two tormenting Howard. What starts as some admittedly extreme jokes, or, actual crimes, soon becomes a fixation for both Kim and Jimmy, which lead to the scales tipping from them being the rootable underdogs to being the villains of their own story. Ironically, I think they're both aware of this, but the fact that Howard is now more moral than they are only fuels their hatred for him even more, which makes them treat him even worse. When the straw finally breaks the camel's back, Howard confronts the pair in a relatively mature way, which sadly results in his untimely death. When the scene begins, the shots of Kim and Jimmy are further away than they are to Howard, which again adds to the empathy I felt for Howard and the literal and figurative difference I felt to Kim and Jimmy. Patrick Fabian also does such an amazing job at playing Howard's control. Even though they've made his life a living hell, he still has a peaceful demeanour, which is more than I think most people would have. The way he moves around their apartment as if it's his own place also gives such a commanding presence, which takes even more away from his tormentors. The audio starts to pick up, which indicates that something bad is about to happen, but we don't know exactly what that is yet. His dress down of Kim also clearly means a lot more to her than it does to Jimmy. Then, after all is said and done, a simple candle flickering indicates to the audience that something much, much worse is going to happen. Lalo Salamanca, who I won't discuss massively in this video, but maybe keep your eyes peeled for one on him soon. Bob Odenkirk and Rhea Seehorn's performances do a phenomenal job at properly putting the final nail in the coffin. Pun intended. It's also worth noting that Kim's the one who tries to get Howard to leave.
Howard, you need to leave.
Whereas Jimmy just says,
How?
as if he's more focused on the consequences of his actions catching up to him, whereas Kim is trying to prevent any loss of life. Then, the final act of violence which leads to Jimmy and Kim's separation happens, and ultimately led to this. I think Howard Hamlin is one of the best examples of a good guy. He's extremely flawed and can even be quite cruel, like his treatment of Kim. But he always tries to make the right decisions and tries to improve himself to do better. Because of this and his association to Kim and Jimmy, I don't think his fate could have been anything but this. He was a shining example of what Jimmy hated. Someone who could change and be better because of it. Jimmy saw him as an accomplice to what Chuck did to him, which admittedly isn't wrong, but he couldn't accept the fact that that wasn't all that Howard was. How dare he try to be a better person after all he did to Jimmy? He was the victim in his own twisted logic, so anything he did to Howard was excusable, whether that be throwing bowling balls on his car or convincing others that he was a drug addict. It was all fair game. Despite all of this, Howard still tries to fix things with Jimmy.
Hamlin McGill did you wrong. Your name is a part of that firm. Now it's tainted. We took your legacy away from you.
Which only fueled his hatred of him more, which realistically only had two outcomes: Howard being ruined, or what ends up happening instead. Due to Howard's status as a side character on the show, his fate would have to be something that would affect a main character, like Kim, who by this point had been upgraded to a more prominent character. Something had to happen to make her see what they'd become. By this point in the show, he was the only character which didn't have anything to do with the cartel side of things. So even though nobody saw his death coming in this way, it had to happen. When the show began, it was more centred on lawyers than criminals. But as it got closer and closer to Breaking Bad's events, it was only natural for that to change. Howard is the definitive turn in the show, going from a legal drama to a full-blown crime saga. And because of how brilliant a character he is, I love the fact that his ending had so much meaning to it. Does that mean I'm glad Howard died? No, of course not. The second Howard met anyone on the illegal side of the show, his fate would have been sealed, as he was simply too much of a danger to be kept around. Even though Howard died, his death ultimately led to Kim realising the error of her ways, and in the grand scheme of things resulted in Jimmy admitting he would never change. This means even in something deeply tragic, his death would eventually lead to justice being found, even if it was years later. This is something I think Howard would have been very happy with, as he did genuinely care for the law and the firm he was a massive hand in making. Howard's death was far from the ideal ending he could have had, but there's a lesson to be learnt from his journey. Even in the darkest moments, push forward to be and do better, even if a good result isn't guaranteed for yourself. It will ultimately lead to something good. That wraps up my first video. I hope you enjoyed me rambling about one of my favourite shows, and that it was at least somewhat informative or helpful. If you like this video, please like it, and if you really liked it, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified about my next video. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.